Hey everyone, and welcome back. It's time for another engine teardown. This is a 2017 out of a 2017 107 out of a Street Glide. It's got about 25,000 miles on it, I believe it is. Belongs to Daryl. We definitely know we have a sumping issue. We pulled almost 30 ounces out of the crankcase while the engine was still in the bike by just pulling the crank sensor, of course. And then we also had the carryover problem between the transmission and the primary. So when we opened up the primary, it was completely full, actually pouring out of the derby cover. So we know we had that issue as well. I don't really know why it's sumping, so we're going to find out in this video. So stick around. Now, if you remember yesterday's video, we talked about Rick's 110, wondering why it failed, and there were a lot of unknowns, and it had seen some partial disassembly. I had a chance to talk to Rick, and I found out a lot of things that explain a lot of things. First off, you remember I had mentioned how clean the inside of the engine was, and also you know, how nice the spark plugs looked, how good the cylinders looked, and all that. I also complimented whoever was doing the service on the bike with addressing the spark plugs. You know, it had dielectric grease on the spark plugs and such. And so come to find out, he did all of his own maintenance. And you know, the bike was meticulously cared for, and you can tell that. So he did all of his own maintenance himself. He was religious with his oil changes and everything else. So, and he used a good quality oil, and so that explains a lot. Before I continue, I'll explain why I'm wearing sunglasses. I'm sure you're wondering, right? So this morning I went to my first eye exam. Hadn't had an eye exam in almost 20 years, and since I only have one left, I thought it was time to go get it checked. Obviously they dilated my eyes this morning. I can't see too well. Everything's blurry, of course, and the lights are a little bright in here. So that's why I'm wearing sunglasses, but we don't have time to stop working, so we're going to keep going and wearing sunglasses. Anyway, I also had more of a conversation with Rick, and come to find out, he, while he was riding, he heard it when the lifter failed. It immediately started ticking. He was only roughly about 30 miles from home, so he babied it very easily and was able to make it home. And then he is the one that opened up the rocker boxes, and he also opened up the cam chest. And when he found all the needles in there from the lifter, he cleaned everything out and then brought it to us. And so that explains why we didn't see a whole lot of stuff in there. Now, after I'd split the case and we actually cleaned the case out this morning, I found a lot more metal bits down inside the very bottom of the case in the sump. And so that explains that. So I'm going to show you guys basically his failed lifter. He had put all the stuff in a bag. He didn't give us the cam plate, but he gave us the lifter, the cam, and the oil pump to take a look at. And you know, obviously we have this flat spot right here on the lifter, and it's missing needles in there. So that failed on him, and that was the reason. Fortunately, he caught it quick enough that everything didn't circulate at the engine, but it did get caught up in the oil pump. The oil pump is destroyed, and he said the cam plate was just as bad. So the cam plate was just terrible. And then you can also see on this cam, on that lobe right there, where that lifter was dragging across it. And so he was fortunate. He caught it quick. He heard it immediately and just babied it home. So regardless, we're continuing on with a 117 build for him, and gonna shore that thing up. It's out of pure coincidence that his crank was bad. And you know, I've mentioned stuff several times, that you know, sometimes we open these things up and we get surprised. Sometimes there are surprises. He had no idea that he had a potential crank issue. So let's imagine if he had just cleaned out that cam chest, put a cam plate and oil pump back in it, a new lifter, in a very short period of time, he would have been going back into it again with a crank problem. You know, the bearing would have finally chewed itself up, started making noise, he'd have been in it again. So as far as the crank is concerned, it only had 5 thou run out. So just checking pinion run out is not a clear indication of the overall health of the crankshaft assembly. And that's exactly what we saw in that engine. He was, again, quite surprised to see that with the crank and the issue with the bearing and it locking up. So he was right on the edge of destruction there. So anyway, All right, so we're going to continue with this one. I had already talked to Daryl. He was surprised to find out that he had that major sumping problem and the oil carryover problem. We don't know why it's sumping. We do know that we have a tremendous amount of oil in the rear intake port, not too much in the front. And let's get started. You can definitely smell the burned oil. You know, like I had mentioned before, one of the biggest characteristics about an engine that's sumping, one of the biggest signs of sumping is excessive engine heat. And you can definitely smell the burnt oil in this one. So far so good on the towers. There's a little excessive wear just on the inside of this one. Not terrible. I can barely catch it with my fingernail, so you know, it's just a few thousandths, not too much. Yeah, the same. Because of my eyes, them being a little blurry, I'm gonna have to take a second look at these towers once I get my vision back tomorrow.
Got lunch here whenever you're done, buddy.
Whew, wow, you can really, the oil, it's just, I mentioned yesterday with Richards, this one is just absolutely rancid. It was time to change spark plugs, certainly. These factory torque settings are too much. We've got some carbon in the chamber, but it's not too bad. Yeah, not horrendous. There is quite a bit on top of the piston though. Well, that's maybe over 1/8 of an inch, a chunk right there. Okay. Let's see. That cylinder doesn't look too bad. All right. The rear is definitely a bit worse than what we were dealing with on the front. Interesting. This may very well explain why. Some of you guys have seen the issues with the head gaskets, right? Slipping on these. A lot of that has to do with the torque setting. The torque setting way too high, actually started seeing some bore distortion and head distortion as well. But also head gaskets, and you guys may have seen the pictures, head gaskets actually starting to slip from between you know, the head and the cylinder. And that's exactly what we have right here. And the gasket is actually overlapping. You know what, I'm going to pull the cylinder so I can show you, because I don't want to disturb the gasket. Daryl was right on the edge of blowing a head gasket, and yeah, the gasket's protruding into the cylinder. So let's take a look at that. You can see what that looks like. Okay, if you notice right here, yeah, so his head gasket, and you can also see on the top where it had started sliding. So he was just about to blow a head gasket. Let's and I can show you here, I can pick that up fairly easily and show you what that looks like. See this fire ring right here? You can see how this is actually stretched and squeezed inside the bore, and also look in this area right here where combustion had actually burnt that fire ring off, and the gasket had started separating in this area already. You can see there and how it delaminated in that area right there and was coming apart. So you were on borrowed time, Daryl. See, sometimes we get surprised. Yeah, all right, now let's hit our cam chest. Actually, let's take just a second. We had built an engine for Joe, an M8, a 124. And I think Joe's getting ready to leave. You guys want to meet Joe? I think we built this engine for him quite a while back. He's from Indiana. And he came back down for us to put suspension on it. So let me see if I can go find Joe. Hey, is Joe around? Come here, Joe.
Yeah.
This is Joe. Don't you love his shirt? I said he was from Indiana. He's actually from Ohio. I had a bit of a brain fart. So we built your 124 M8. How long ago?
Picked it up in July.
July. And you've been pounding the miles on it?
About 8,500.
So far? How's it going?
Quickly.
I like that grin.
The deal was when we set
I gotta
it
put
up,
these back on.
it had its deficiencies from the motor company, things they didn't want to fix but did. And by that point, I'd already sent you money and said, I don't want to move in. I don't want to see you a bunch. I want to see you once. Let's make it so it doesn't break down. To your credit, I said, can you build me a 150,000 mile motor? And you're like, no. I said, how about 100? He said, probably so. Okay. I said, Let's get all the fun we can out of it. And right about the time it would start to last less long, just stop right there. You know, somebody's always going to outspend me. Somebody wants something faster. I can't write it that well anyway. Just get some fun out of it and make it so that I'm not moving in here to have stupid stuff done.
Exactly.
He envisioned a whole lot more fun than I did.
It's a lot of fun.
The tires go a lot quicker. Yes, you will want suspension to match whatever fun's coming out of the motor, so that's what I'm back for now. But
maybe the back tire won't pass you as much as it was before. Awesome.
But it's been great. He made it too smooth. I'm riding faster because it sounds like the engine isn't working at all. Before I knew when to back off, when it was making a racket, you just slow down, and now it doesn't. So my mileage tanked, and I have to realize I'm mortal. The bike's not, but I am.
You're mortal. So you head back now?
Head back, yeah.
Heading back. Thank you.
Appreciate it. You're a brave soul.
My hands are somewhat clean.
The glasses are a good look for you.
Sorry to talk to you through the sunglasses, but
I've been on the other
having a
end
hard
of it.
time with
Ain't
that.
no fun.
Yeah, no. At least I've got one good one.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.
Take care. Be safe.
You too. Take care of
Thanks a lot.
yourself. See you, pal. How cool is that? All right, let's keep going. Ooh. Oh, that one just stopped. Yep. We got to stop right there on that one. That one's good. Got to be careful. You know, it seems like I find this to be more of a problem on M8s than I do twin cams. Of course, you know, the excessive engine heat that he was experiencing with the sumping problem may have had something to do with this, but it just seems like there's so much more Loctite on these bolts now than one is necessary. Then, nope, we're gonna stop on that one. All right, so. Mark that one. And then I'm going to show you guys a little trick how we're going to get that out and a way to heat it up safely. Whew. Yep. Oil just rancid in there. Yep. I'll show you a trick for getting these little boogers off. Now let's see. Well, I've already drained this. Remember, we pulled the crank sensor while it was still in the bike. So we got it was almost 30 ounces. Is what it came out to be. So we're probably not going to see very much come out of here. Oh yeah, we are. Yep. So that was the other. So if we figure we've got a few ounces, quite a few ounces there, maybe as much as 5 ounces, give or take. And we combine that with what we got out of the case, it had almost a quart. Now, I'm gonna try this without the glasses on. Still a little bright in here, but I'm getting tired of wearing them. This is an induction heater, okay? You work quick with this thing because it'll heat a bolt up in red hot in a matter of 10 seconds. So, see if that's a little easier. Yep, there we go. Okay, let's hit it again. Wow, still tight. I think we're okay though. We're going to keep going. All right, successful there. That's going to be hot. It did pull a little bit of aluminum with it, so we may, yeah, oof. All right. Okay, now for the tappet cuffs. I don't even want to take the chance, okay? I mean, we can see how, just to check, we can see how tight they are. We may get lucky, but I'm not going to put a whole lot of force on these. Nope, we're going to stop. Nope, we're going to stop. Okay. Trick to get these out. First, we're going to get rid of the stock garbage. We'll get these out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and remove the tappets, but I do want to look at them while I'm in there. Feels okay. And this isn't, we're probably going to see the same thing on the cam. And I think it's an oil starvation issue, of course. On virtually every M8 that I tear down that has been sumping, we see issues with rollers. One or two of the lobes, but it's, you know, you can see it's well through, you know, it's frosted over quite a bit. A little bit of frosting isn't unusual, but it's just strange that I typically just mainly see it on M8s with sumping problems. I'm going to see if I can get as much of this out. The bolt itself, yeah, spin that around. All right. It's interesting because the bolt won't move, and they're really not that tight in there anyway. They have a spacer on there to keep from collapsing and breaking anyway. So now, and look at that. Isn't that better? I'm going to stop. I'm actually going to heat it up one more time. Now let's go to this one. Oh yeah, much better. We're gonna stop, heat it up again, and just walk it out. This is so much better than breaking one. Oh yeah. And there we go. No damaged threads, but look at the amount of Loctite all the way up there on that small of a bolt. It's crazy. All right. Yep, this one, too much, too tight. Let's heat her again. There we go. Oh, need to stop. And now we can breathe a sigh of relief. It made it. Yeah. Okay. Now let's keep moving. Okay. Whew. I don't know if you guys heard that. It was 124. We're doing some putting it through its paces that we just finished, and so put it through its paces on the street and see how it does. All right, here we go. Oh, that one's gonna strip too. Oh. You know what? We're putting a new cam plate and oil pump in this one anyway. All right, strange. Let's separate the plate and pump. Okay, the cam plate itself, the back of it, doesn't look scarred up at all. It actually looks to be in very good condition. Now let's see the pump. Of course, we do have the early style pump here. Let's see what the cam looks like. Remember I had mentioned, we looked at the tappet. I'd mentioned M8s that I see sump typically have more cam lobe wear than I would expect to see. And that's exactly what we have here. Again, that frosting, people kind of freak out over the frosting thing, and some of it's expected. It's not really that huge of a deal in some cases, and you can expect to see some of it on a higher mileage engine. That's our 124 coming back from a test ride in just a second. I'll try to talk over it. This cam lobe, the same as the mating lifter that we saw, is worn quite a bit. And I don't see a lot of excessive wear in the oil pump either. And of course, this is the model, the older pump with the without the seal on the back. Rotors don't look bad. Now let's see what we have for a pinion shaft run out. Well, we got right at 10 thou. Pinion shaft run out. Of course, the next step, we are building him one of our full Skunk Series 128s, so we're going to be replacing this crank assembly with a 4.5 inch stroke. So largely the 10 thou run out that we found is really irrelevant. So we're going to split the case. We're also going to remove the balancer. As far as the sumping issue, the head gasket was a complete surprise. I know when I tell him that, he's going to be surprised at that. Again, you never know what you're going to find sometimes when you open these up. So he was right on the brink of disaster there with the blown head gasket. And the 10 thou run out possibly could have been a cause for his sumping. I did inspect the cam plate and the oil pump, and it didn't really look bad. But we did in total from what came out of the cam chest, and then also what we drained before we moved the engine from the bike. We got almost 30 ounces of oil out of it. It could be simply that 2017 original oil pump without the seal and the inefficient pump. We've all heard about those issues. It could very well be that was simply the cause. The cylinders didn't look that bad either. They still had a decent crosshatch on them. We did have pretty good amount of carbon on top of the piston, completely filling the valve reliefs, in fact. And largely, a lot of that is due to the sumping. Like I've shown in my sumping videos before, you're sloshing all of that oil around in there while it sumps, and then it coats the cylinder walls, which can over lubricate the cylinders. And when you have a very thin oil ring pack, of 1.5 millimeter on these stock ones, and then the thin compression rings, of course, that oil can work its way around the rings, get on the top end, and then really impregnate on the top of the piston and such. So that would explain that. So of course, we're going to be testing and then most likely replacing his piston oilers as well. So I think the sumping just comes down to, on this one, the plate and pump. And we got lucky that it was a head gasket at the same time. Now, when I split the cases, actually keep an eye out in the next week or two. I'm going to be doing this as a Tool Tech Tuesday video. I had for gems, I have a unique opportunity here to split the case and showcase a couple of their tools. One is their case splitting tool for the M8, and then also their balancer bearing remover tool. And you know, I want to show that because, you know, on the twin cams, depending on the year model, you actually have a couple of places, some flanges, front mount, that sort of thing. You can even use like a brake caliper spreading tool or something like that to very safely split the cases. But with the M8, you really don't have that opportunity, and the last thing we want to do is be pulling on studs and things like that. So if you'll keep an eye out for the Tool Tech Tuesday video, the very next one reviewing these two tools, you'll get to see all of this stuff coming apart. So we've got, let's see, this is 2 down. If you didn't see the first one, check it out that we filmed yesterday. I think we've got about 12 engines, give or take. Again, various different formats, more M8s, various years of twin cam as well, and formats, and each one has a very unique problem. And we're gonna put our Sherlock Holmes hat on and see if we can find out why they're having those issues. So again, please, if you haven't subscribed, please do if you think I've earned it, and then also hit that notification bell and keep a lookout for this playlist. I actually started a playlist called Engine Teardown Series, and we're going to be putting them all in there and filming over the next several days as we get them all tore down. So guys, thanks a million for watching. I appreciate you being here with me. Thanks to all the members for supporting the channel, and take care of yourselves and each other. Have a good one.